This is not edible. This is not edible. This is not edible. No.
Hello family members and welcome back to my channel. First of all, don't forget to subscribe my channel.
Hey, if you're working with cold porcelain clay and wondering why it's cracking, breaking, and just not working like how you have expected it to be, then trust me, you're not alone. Hi, my name is Ramya. I'm a cold porcelain clay artist. I've been working with cold porcelain clay over a year now, and I've made plenty of mistakes. So, in this video, I'll be sharing all the mistakes that I've done so that you won't waste your time, money, and efforts. So, without a further ado, let's get into it. So, this is an update of all the charms that I've sculpted this week, and this is a new design that I was working on. This is Berylicious charm, and this all will be Jim Jam soon. They're gonna look like this, and this is the new design that I worked on recently, and I named it Toasty Bear. This is a bear shaped bread toast with a cute little omelette on its head, and the eyes are made of choco chips. So this will either be a clay magnet or a clay pin, and I'm going to attach either the magnet or the pin based on the requirement of the customer that want to get this. So I've sculpted Gigi and bread. I've only sculpted like 3 of them, and I'm going to sculpt more. So this is an update. There are some strawberries that I sculpted, which I'll be using for another charm. So yeah, this is an update of the week. So I have listed on all the things that I wanted to discuss in this video because I don't know, I have this problem. I have to put everything onto paper because I'm scared I'll forget a point or two. And yeah, with that, the first mistake that I'm going to talk about today is the very thing of cooking the clay properly. Okay, all beginners, absolute beginners, will make this mistake. So there are plenty of videos on YouTube where you could follow and just cook the clay with the right proportions. This is very important. You got to add the right proportions of each and every ingredient that you're gonna cook and make this clay. And I would suggest you could follow Sugar Cafe Champs, as she's the one that's been doing it since a lot of years now. But my kind of an advice for an absolute beginner is that you better cook your clay on a stove top rather than in an oven, because cooking on stove top is what I personally feel is that you will get more access to when to stop cooking and when to cook more. Like, you could see it, you could touch it with your palm. If it doesn't stick to your palm, then the clay is done, and you can immediately turn off the gas and you can just start kneading it until it's completely cool to touch. So if you're cooking it in an oven, there are high chances that you will overcook it. So yeah, this is one of the mistake I wish people have told me, or like, I wish I knew this before. Like, anyone would have told me that cooking on stove top will give more access and there will be less chances of getting wrong consistency of the clay. So yeah, this is one of the advice that I would like to give you. The second advice is that this will be very useful for absolute beginners. If you have cooked a clay which is overcooked, like it is very hard and brittle, it is creating cracks, it's unable to form into a smooth ball, then you got to cook a batch of undercooked clay and you got to mix them both together to get that perfect consistency. And if you don't, if you feel like the clay is not that overcooked and it's like okay, manageable, then you can add a handful of hand lotion or a body lotion. It contains glycerin, so you're gonna just apply some body lotion over your palm and just knead the clay and see if this works out. Then your clay is ready to work and ready to make charms. Okay, so the third mistake that I did, and I don't want you to do it, is that once you're done cooking the clay and when you're kneading it, you have to knead it until it is cool to touch. Okay, until it is cool to touch. It shouldn't be warm, it shouldn't be hot, and you shouldn't be doing it over also. It just have to be in the room temperature kind of a thing. Like, it shouldn't feel warm. So the mistake that I did was I used to wrap it up when it was still warm, and I realized after like 24 hours there was this moisture around the foil. It's because of the steam that has come. It has formed a precipitation inside the cling foil, and which led to molds and very sticky kind of a clay. It was very stubborn to work with. So my suggestion is that knead it until it is completely cool to touch. Okay, this is the most important thing. So the next mistake that I'm going to talk about is storing my clay in cling foil. I'm really sorry. Every artist out there is storing their clay in cling foil, but I kind of personally not liking this because I realized, as I said, there is a lot of precipitation the next day when there is a lot of moisture. When I'm like folding it into this cling foil, there is very less chance of the moisture to escape, like the excess moisture to escape from the clay. And then I recently, sorry, that's my dog. I recently attended Sugar Cafe Charms workshop, and in that workshop I've asked her that whenever I'm storing my clay into this cling foil or cling wrap, it is becoming very sticky and it's very hard, very stubborn to work with. So she have insisted to store my clay into this airtight container. You can actually get these airtight containers. I bought this for like 45 rupees or 30 rupees. It was actually 35 rupees, so it's very cheap and you can just store your clay into this. And since I started storing my clay into this kind of a boxes, the clay is very fine. You can, it's very manageable, it's not stubborn, it doesn't stick to your hands, and it's very nice. So invest into such containers, or two boxes will be more than enough. And you guys can see I've mixed some colors. I just stick to the sides of the container, and whenever I'm needing it, I'll just pull out some part of the clay and I just use it. So this is one piece of an advice that I really like to follow. So here there is a tip. If you have already cooked the clay and you have already wrapped it into a cling foil and there is moisture, there's precipitation around your clay, so take out a container and just place the clay inside the container and just open a little bit in the corner like this. Just a little part should be open in the corner so that the excess moisture will be escaped from that side. And make sure you're closing the container after like an hour or two so that your clay is not dried. Okay, so this is one of the mistake that I did and I don't want you to do it. Okay, so let's get into the next one. So the next mistake that we are going to talk about now is that you got to clean everything before you start even kneading the clay, at least even preparing the clay or you're working with the clay, because this clay is very sticky and it attracts all the lint or the dust or everything. It just absorbs, because it's not like polymer clay. On the other hand, polymer clay is a bit dense and it can be easily cleaned up with isopropyl alcohol. But cold porcelain clay, on the other side, it has more moisture in it and it kind of easily absorbs all the dust that is accumulated on your workspace or desk area or anything. So when you're cooking the clay, and once you're done cooking the clay and you're kneading the clay, make sure the mat or the table that you're kneading the clay on should be squeaky clean. Okay, this is one important thing. If not, you will end up having a white clay with a lot of tiny particles of dust in it, and we don't want that to happen. Okay, we want our charms to be very white and neat. So make sure you have cleaned everything, even if it's not just a clay cooking or just kneading it. Make sure you're cleaning all the tools before you start sculpting it and making cute figurines with it, making cute clay charms with it. So make sure you're cleaning your gram scale, you're cleaning your X-Acto knives, your workspace and everything. Okay, so the next mistake that I did was I added less cornstarch to the clay whenever I made the batches of clay in the past, and I realized cornstarch is like the cement of our cold porcelain. So cornstarch will make the clay to keep its shape firm, and I will show you an example of what I'm talking about. So this is a side by side comparison of same design, but in this I have added a lot of cornstarch, and in this I have added less cornstarch, and even I undercooked the clay. So you guys can see how much it have melted down. So you got to add a lot of cornstarch in order for it to contain the shape and form. and you shouldn't be undercooking it because it's barely holding the shape, if you guys can see. So this is our orange feet desk front, and I have used a lot of cornstarch in this, and let me show you the side by side comparison. So this is what I'm talking about. The next mistake I'm going to talk about is that you got to knead each and every part of the clay before you start sculpting, because once you knead the clay, you will condition the clay and it will become more firm, and when you roll it into a ball or when you roll it into a cylinder or anything, there will not be any cracks or any folds in the clay. So I'll show you a comparison so that you will understand it better. So if you're planning to glaze your charms using UV resin, please don't use this as a protective gear, because this COVID mask will do nothing. This is just so useless. Please invest into something which serves the purpose. This is a bit expensive, but it is very very helpful and very useful, because UV resin is very harmful and you shouldn't be inhaling the fumes of UV resin. So please invest in a protective gear. I will provide the links of this respirator mask in my description. Do check them out, okay? If you have little fur babies in your home, make sure you're not letting them inside the room where you're trying to glaze your charms, because you can wear a protective gear but they can't. And once my little fur baby have inhaled some of the UV resin and it was like sneezing the whole day. It broke my heart so much. And just please make sure that whenever you're using UV resin, please let your fur babies out of your room. Turn on your fan, open your windows, make sure your room is well ventilated. Wear the protective gear, wear gloves. Surgical gloves will serve the purpose. And then glaze the charms, okay? You want some treats? You want some treats? So, yeah. So, by the way, this is Shiro and this is Simba. It's a pug. And this is a Shih Tzu. So, yeah, these are my fur babies. So, you get the point, right? Don't let them. You want to say something? You want to say something to my camera? This is not edible. This is not edible. This is not edible. No. Okay. So another mistake that I was doing was I was trying to sculpt the whole design on the exact day, like the same day. That shouldn't be done. Whenever you're working with cold porcelain clay, you got to work in steps. Like you got to make the body for the day, and tomorrow you got to add the facial features, or you got to add any other accessories that it is holding. This way your charms will not lose their shape or form, and once they are like dried after a, like the base body, if it is dried, you can hold it very firmly and you can attach all the rest of the details to it. That way the shape will be contained and you will get the perfect results that you are expecting it to be. So that is one of the mistake that I did. So always work in steps, okay? So the next mistake I'm going to talk about is how you're going to color the clay. So if it is a small portion of clay that you want to color, you should go for chalk pastels. But if it is a larger portion of clay that you want to color, I suggest you to go for either food colors or acrylic paints, because soft pastels will add more of, it's like a dry ingredient that you're adding into the clay, and it will make the clay very stubborn and it will become very dry, and it will form cracks. So if it is very small part of the clay, and as the name suggests, they are chalk pastels. So in order for you to get pastel colors, you will be adding very minimal amount of the chalk pastel dust for like small parts of the clay. But if you are going for high saturated colors like red or orange or anything like that, you got to go for either acrylics or food colors. I personally like using food colors, and that's how I mix large portions of my clay with food colors or acrylics, and the small portions of the clay with chalk pastels. So this is one of the mistake that I did earlier, so don't do that. So this is the reason why I told you you shouldn't work on the entire design on the same day, is because as you guys can see, the color of the strawberry is seeping into the whipped cream. This was a design that I worked on way before, when I was still experimenting with cold porcelain clay. So since then I stopped adding the strawberry on the same day. So because of that, you guys can see the whipped cream is so clean and white, and there is no seeping of the strawberry pigment into the clay underneath it. So this is why you got to work it in steps. So for this clay, I make the biscuit and add the whipped cream and I let it dry, and I'll be making the strawberries and I'll let them dry. And the very next day, I'm gonna add some leaves over the strawberry and I'll attach the strawberry into the biscuit. So with this technique, you will have very clean and neat charms. So yeah, always work in steps. So the next mistake that I'm going to talk about is never add the eye pin into your charm before it's completely dried, because cold porcelain clay contains a lot of moisture, and when you add an eye pin into it, there are high chances for it to form rust. So invest into a small drilling tool. So you got to insert the eye pin once it is like completely dried. You got to drill using this drilling tool, and then you're gonna secure it with the eye pin. So this way there will be no chance of rust to be forming in your clay charms. So yeah, never add the eye pin before it's completely dried. Okay, so the next mistake I'm talking about, probably the last thing for today's vlog, is that you got to glaze your charms on a very sunny day, because UV light itself is not enough. You got to keep your charms under sunlight for like 1 hour or two, because even when you use UV resin and you use UV lamp, it wouldn't cure it completely. Sunlight is the best source of UV light, as we all know. So first you glaze your charms and then you let it cure under UV light, and then place your charms in direct sunlight for like 1 hour and let it completely cure under sunlight. So this was the mistake that I did. This is the Jim Jam charm that I sculpt. So I use resin in the center as a jam. So whenever I use Jim Jams, I only cured them under UV lamp, but I never kept them under sunlight. So after like a day or two, the lower part of the Jim Jam cream, it started oozing out because it wasn't completely cured. Then I understood that I have to keep it under UV light, and then I place my Jim Jams for 1 hour under sunlight, like direct sunlight, and then it was completely cured and it is ready to use. So this is all for today. So I hope this video was helpful to you, and I'll be coming up with new videos. I'm sorry I'm not being very consistent because I'm juggling up with my personal life and the YouTube life. So I'll make sure I'll be consistent and I'll be posting a lot of videos. If you have watched till here, thank you so much. If you have already subscribed, I'm giving you a hug. I'm sending you a virtual hug. If you didn't subscribe, please subscribe to my channel. I'll be sharing a lot of videos, more tips and tricks about it, and more sculpting vlogs and videos. So yeah, that's it for today. Thank you. Hope you have a great day. Bye.